So in today's video, which is our last vlog, we'll be talking about the movies Dances with Wolves and The Natural, and the mythic and ritual elements found within them. Now, Dances with Wolves is directed by Kevin Costner, and he plays the lead role of the First Lieutenant Dunbar within the movie. And the movie is set within the Civil War, and Dunbar at the beginning is supposed to get his leg amputated, but he can't accept that, so instead he decides to sacrifice his own life maybe in the sake of peace, or maybe just to give the Americans the advantage. And he gets on a horse and rides off into the middle of the battlefield, and it just surprises everyone. And he can't get hit by a bullet. He just is like dodges them all. Anyway, because of this, he is gifted with a new life. His leg is fixed. He is given a new mission and a purpose, and he's also given the horse named Cisco. We see this process with Dunbar as almost his rebirth. He's being rebirthed as the hero figure, maybe. That's how I view it, at least. Anyway, he's sent to the Western Front, and he ends up becoming isolated by himself at his post, Fort Hayes, that has been deserted. Now, Dunbar isn't a traditional American hero who believes in courage, bravery, heroism, and through him being at Fort Hayes, he ends up getting in contact with a new Indian tribe called the Sioux. And they act almost as mentor figures for him, and Dunbar becomes an asset to them. With the relationship, they end up hunting and finding buffalo together, and he's so well respected at one point that they even name him Dances with Wolves, and that's because he becomes very close to a wolf called Two Socks that hangs near his camp. Now, the Indians, along as Dunbar later in the movie, believe in animism, which is like respecting the planets and nature, being one with nature and the animals. And Dunbar really takes a lot of the ideologies that the Indian believes and says, wow, these people are sophisticated, they're smart, they know how to treat the land, and I believe in this now too because I'm being educated with it, which I love. Dunbar doesn't view the Indians as savages, although the American soldiers do, and because he spends so much time with them, he kind of ends up being wary of the American soldiers as well. He tries to warn them, but they disregard his journal, and they don't believe that the Indians are peaceful people. But he's willing up, and although Dunbar at the beginning of the movie was willing up to give everything for their soldiers, they view him as a traitor almost, and ignore his warnings that these people are good people that want to communicate and that want to work together to build a relationship, and they just ignore that and they say he's wrong, they're savages, we have to kill them all. I really love this movie. I think that the myth within it is trying to show the positive and negative behaviors of human nature. We see a lot of the positives being highlighted by the Indian people, and a lot of the negatives being highlighted by the American soldiers. But we also see that the Indian people, a different tribe, the Pawnee tribe, are also very savage, and they act a lot like the American soldiers, and they come and just take what they want. So even in the Indian tribe, we still see that they can be corrupted in a sense. So it applies to everyone. It's not just because they're Indians that they're like that, because the Americans are the same way. And although Dunbar comes from like an industrialized civilization, the Indians really open his eyes to this new way of life. And he falls in love with this girl called Stands with a Fist, and she's even wary of white settlers. And they all just really figure that their land is going to be taken away from the tribe because these American soldiers are so hungry for power and hungry for land and conquering the West and ending the Civil War. And it shows a lot. I think this movie is definitely there to teach a lesson, and the Indian culture and how they congregate together. I just think is a really beautiful. It made a very beautiful movie. The scenes that Kevin Costner directed were incredible. Like the nature scenes, the cinematography, the music he even put in the background really made the movie have more influence, and it made me like the movie a lot more than some of the movies we've watched within this class. But this movie was incredible. I think the use of myth and how and seeing Costner's playing Dunbar, seeing his hero's journey and how how he's like has to relearn a lot of his beliefs and how a lot of his beliefs are wrong. I think that is a very interesting concept. Um, Now, within the movie The Natural, which is based on a 1952 novel, um, it's really showcasing the story of Hobbes and his hero's journey of like becoming wanting to become a baseball star. And just as we talked about within our lecture, the story is really intertwined with mythic elements like the Holy Grail, the Fisher King, and Arthur and the Excalibur. Um, it's really interesting because it came out of England and cricket and stuff. I like that there are some Arthurian legends being intertwined within this movie. Now we see Hobbes' hero's journey and Monomyth. It's going step by step. Like if you watch the movie and you compare the hero's journey to what he's going through, he crosses every step that he needs to. For example, crossing the threshold and facing the threshold guardian. That scene I think is very well portrayed when he walks into the stadium and he meets Pop Fisher at the stadium. I think it's like a perfect representation of the hero's journey example. We also see a lot of comparisons between like Homer's Odyssey or the Arthurian legend. He leaves on a quest to only be derailed and largely through his own bad choices. We see that the New York Knights represent um, King Arthur and the knights and all this stuff. And the Wonder Boy the Bat is Hobbes' version of Excalibur. And it even has a mythic origin, just like Excalibur did. The tree struck by lightning, where his father died. That's what Hobbes uses to create his incredible bat. But even although this bat he thinks gives him with this ability, he still has to prevail without its power in the end. The judge represents definitely the devil within the legend. He wants Hobbes to sell his soul, and when Hobbes refuses, he wants to reveal his past and ruin him. And I think Memo, or what's her name? I think it's pronounced Memo. She's the temptress, the lady that's trying to dissuade him from his path. She wants him to mess up with games and to lose because she wants the money. While Iris, the past woman within his life, I think is more of an angelic feature. She wants to save him. She wants to help him. She wants to help him complete his quest. Which is why I prefer Iris much more. And although this movie has a very, nice ending that Barry Levinson was trying to show within the classic hero's tale, the actual original novel ends with Hobbes accepting the deal from the judge and striking out completely. And it comes out in the mail that he threw the game, and he becomes a very unpopular person. And when a kid comes up to him and asks, "Is it true? Like, is it true?" He just bawls, like he just cries. He can't tell the kid because it is true. He does give up, which I thought was a very interesting that the movie, the endings were so different. But I understand why Barry Levinson does this. He really just wanted to keep true to the mythic elements of the the hero's tale, of the hero's tale, of the monomyth, of the hero's journey. And with that, there's always usually a good ending with consequences, of course. Maybe his consequences, that his blindness of becoming a baseball star, made him miss out on years of his son's life. I guess that would be his consequence, or his consequence would be like a woman died because of the journey that he took. But I can tell that the novel was more, writing about the corruption of the innocent than writing about the hero's tale. All around, I think this movie is like definitely showcasing the hero's journey as its main point. It's also trying to teach us like maybe lessons about, like I said, just the same as Dances with Wolves, about the bad and good sides of human behavior and how that can play a role within a film or a myth. It's really just trying to teach us to be justice, to justify things, and to hold true to what we believe in. Overall, I want to thank you guys for watching all my vlogs. I really enjoyed this class, and I enjoyed learning about myths and rituals, and Fraser and all these things that we've gone over throughout this semester. I can't wait for next semester that we start next week. And I just want to thank you, Gorlick, for introducing us to a lot of these concepts that I didn't know about. And hope you guys have a great day.